Hi guys, entering my 5th month of learning to trade penny stocks on the US market. So it's been a decent week so far, had some good trades. One of them was a swing trade which I sized up for. It didn't work out, but it was a good thesis and I stuck to my risk. My second good trade was a 3rd day surge setup where I made 24%, and then I also tried a day one gapper, which aren't really my thing, but I made a 13% gain on that as well. So I'm going to go into all 3 of the trades and have a look at the charts. So I'm going to start off with the swing trade that didn't work out, which was SMXT. This is the daily chart over here, and you can see it's had a day one move where it's gapped up on high volume and it's gone from around 93 cents up to highs of around 250. So its highs meant it was up about 168%, and then it closed down here, so it closed up about 78%. So it didn't really hold its gains very nicely, not the biggest gainer, wouldn't normally be of significant interest to me, but because the volume was so high compared to the drop off on the following days, that was a bit more interesting. So it did over 300 million volume on day one, and then you get this drop off in volume where it's going down to 7 mil, 4 mil, down to 1.7 mil, and it's also on this nice downward trend as well. So my thesis was that shorts would have sized in on day one according to volume. It's a volume drop off, so it's difficult for shorts to cover without affecting the price of the stock because the volume isn't there. So at some point these shorts are going to have to cover. So let me go into the intraday chart on the 15-minute time frame. You can see that it's very much in this downward trend here on the, I think it's on the 10-minute and above chart time frame. Yeah, 10 minutes there. You can see it's got nice touch points on the trend line, which I look for when I'm looking for a downward trend, and can see it's kind of going all the way back down to where it started from, which is I think what they call like a dead cat bounce. So it goes all the way back down and then you get like a bounce at the bottom. So I liked this downward trend, and I also liked that where it had gone to was about $1, so you've got like a book hold play here. So it'd gone down to like 95 cents roughly. So I was watching this thinking, if this breaks trend, then it's probably going to have a bounce. So we've got 3 things here. We've got the volume drop off, we've got the downward trend, and we've got the $1 hold, where we know from NASDAQ compliance rules that stocks have to maintain a price of over $1 or they enter into kind of a non-compliance period potentially. So there is an incentive to keep stocks over $1. So let me go to the 1-minute chart, and actually let's just stay here for a second. You can see on this day it was breaking the trend on the 10-minute and above time frame, so that was my signal to enter the trade pre-market on this day here. So if I go to the 1-minute time frame and just zoom out a little bit, this is on the 1 minute now, so obviously this trend line is going to look a bit different, but this is the break here on the 10-minute and above time frame. So I was going to enter here pre-market, and I got in at 0.9977, about there. Let me zoom in. There, somewhere around here, and then I'm risking off this low here as well, which is 0.9568. So market opens, it holds my risk pre-market, and then the market opens, and then does actually try to bounce, and it has like a 13% bounce here up to 110. However, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for more of a bounce of like 20% and above. So I didn't actually sell any there, and I decided that I was gonna hold it until it broke my risk, because I've seen a similar one a few months ago, a month or so ago, do kind of a similar thing, similar setup, and I had to swing it. So that's what I did. I held it and then kept my risk intact after hours and pre-market, and the next day doesn't really do much again, and so I decide to hold it again, and then the next day it decides to break my risk, and I have a stop loss on, which is cool. So I'm out the trade, and I know what I was willing to lose, and I stuck to my plan, and that's totally fine. And if we just go a little bit further on, see, it continued to break down a bit, and then here on this day it has the bounce that I was waiting for, but you know, at this point my thesis is kind of, it's been broken. So really kind of wasn't of interest, even though I thought, you know, this can still bounce, but I'm not really sure where I would enter, where I would risk off at this point. So left that alone, and then it did like a 30% bounce here. So it went from, say, around 88 cents up to 116. So nice bounce there, and you know, thesis kind of was correct. It did do what I thought it did, but it, you know, did it a few days later, and I really like the thesis on this. It just didn't work out, so I would definitely take that trade again, as long as you can get good entry. As long as you can get good entry and have good risk, then I like that setup. So that was the first trade. I did put $100 on that trade, and I lost 4% on that, which is fine. Yeah, so let's go on to the next one, which was the third day surge setup. So this was a nice gain that I got on this one. So this is its day one. The ticker is BSLK, and it's moved on high volume on its day one, and it's gone from about 222 up to 1750. So it was a big percentage gainer, and it held its gains nicely as well, which is important, and it's moved on high volume, so 264 mil on volume. Then on day two, there's a nice drop off in volume, which is what I look for on these third day surge setups, and it's held a nice range. So if I go onto the intraday chart, 5-minute time scale, this is its day one, and then after hours pre-market it comes down, and then it's holding this level here. So what I'm looking for is a bit of a drop off, but a nice kind of basing action on day two, and also the volume drop off is key, so that this can potentially have a squeeze on day three. If volume comes in, shorts can get squeezed. So I'm looking at this on day two, thinking it's basing around 740s here and here, and then after hours it actually broke that risk, which is annoying. I really don't want it to do that. It kind of messes up the pattern. However, at the moment all these setups have been doing the same thing. They've been breaking the previous day's low of day, and they're still doing the move that you expect, but it's breaking the risk first, then it's reclaiming, and then it's going. So I did have that in my mind. If I just go on to the 1-minute chart, so this is the third day here. So after hours it's broken yesterday's low of day from day two, and I think, yeah, it reclaimed the low of day here, and I've seen it do this on other stocks, and then it kind of breaks it again, and then it comes back and it does a little bit of faffing around. So I wasn't sure on it. I didn't know whether to kind of enter here, and then I was thinking, well, I'm just going to get cut up here. If I had, I would have kept cutting. So probably what I should have done in hindsight is entered here and put my risk somewhere down here. Had a little bit of a wider risk just to allow it to kind of chop around a bit here. But I didn't do that. In my head, I was thinking, I want to see that this is going to move, so I'm going to wait for it to push red green, which is where it goes over yesterday's close. So that's where I've marked this green line here, would mean it's going over yesterday's close. So yeah, ideally, looking back, I really should have taken it here, but it's easier in hindsight, isn't it? So I waited for market open, was watching it like a hawk, and it had this little move, which again could have entered there and then risked off this area, yesterday's low of day. That would have been a better entry as well, actually. But I didn't, and then it actually had this move up and I managed to get in. I thought I'm going to take an entry there. I got in at 875, sorry, risking off 849. So red green level is 850, so just 1 cent below that. And it actually, I got in at the last possible second, because after my order got filled, the stock got halted, and it halted upwards. So if I hadn't got in there, I would have missed the trade, because there's no way I'm going to be chasing it up here. So I was really lucky to get an entry there. And when you see a stock halt upwards on a setup that you know can work, it's like, okay, this is going to go now. So that was quite exciting. So yeah, happy with my entry, happy with my risk. Obviously it would have been nicer to be down here, but I've still managed to get a good entry and a tight risk off this area. So yeah, just had this nice move upwards. My final profit target was actually $14, which is so cool because that's exactly where it went to. I didn't actually sell it there. Didn't have enough shares really, but I sold along the way. My best sell was $13, so I'm pretty happy with that really. And then overall gain on this one was 24%. So yeah, really nice trade there on a third day surge setup. So going to go into the final trade then, which was a day one gapper. And if you follow this channel, you know that I'm not very good at these. I don't like them because you don't have a lot of time to plan compared to like a third day surge setup where you can sort of make a plan a couple days or a day in advance. So I gave it a go because it looked like a good setup. There is opportunity there to be had. And I just took really small size on it anyway. So the ticker was IVP, and this is its day one move. So it's moved on high volume and it's gone from around 81 cents up to 134. So I'm going to look at the 1 minute chart here. So it started to move after hours, had this big move upwards, and then pre-market it's not pushed really past. It has pushed a little bit, but it's kind of just you know, coming down closer towards $1 really. So my thinking on day ones at the moment is to wait for market open. I've tried playing them pre-market, and because I'm not very good at them, and because you can't have stop losses pre-market, for me I think the safer option is let market open, assess what's happening, and take your entry there where you can have a stop loss in place. You know, maybe if I get better at them, I can play them a bit more pre-market, but at the moment it's not my strongest setup at all. So the thesis on this one was this was an earnings winner. So it had earnings on this day, which was why it was moving, and that's what's been in play at the moment. There's been a few big runners that are moving because they've had good earnings, and this was one of them. So can see nothing for me to do here, but we can see the level that it's going down to is, let's say it's holding support here a little bit at like 110. So kind of want to see if the market opens and see what it does. This could potentially come back down to a dollar area. Can see after hours it's got this support level here, just under a dollar, and a dollar is always a key area. So go to the market open. Can see, let's zoom in even a little bit more. First red candle down, second red candle down. I was kind of watching it here, thinking I could see it was trying to hold here, try and have a green candle, and I thought, yeah, it could still go down more, I don't know, but I can get good entry and good risk here. So I managed to enter at 104 and I'm risking just under a dollar, so such a tight risk. So if it wants to go down further, that's fine, but also there's a good probability that this wants to hold a dollar, and there's plenty of range for this to move into. So that was my entry, and I sold, I think I sold a little bit at 116, some at 119 into VWAP, which is this purple line here, and I decided to hold a little bit more, and then I got a best sell at 128, and it worked out at a 13% gain. And actually that was a great sell because it only went up to 134. I don't think it went any further. No. So yeah, happy with that trade. As I say, I'm not very good with day ones, so I'm just trying them out, taking really small size, and it worked out on this occasion. So I'm just trying to focus on good trading on the moment and not the money side of things. And I feel like with my prime setups, I am on them like a hawk. So everything that should be on my radar, it is on my radar, and I'm learning to adapt and play them differently if they're not behaving in a typical way. And although I've got a long way to go, these explosive moves that I'm seeing, if I can fine tune them a bit and add a few more setups to my playbook, I can see how this could work. But it's not proven yet, and until I can prove this consistently and convincingly on small size, I can't size up. So it's still an experiment. It's still to be decided whether I can make this work or not, but I feel like I'm touching on something. So cheers for watching as always, and catch you next Sunday.